#RealRaceTalk. It's the Revved Up Sports Show talking local, regional, and national action. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Rolling, my man.
There we are, dude. Back together again.
How about that? Here we are. It is #Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show. On a Monday. No, it's not Monday.
What the hell is that? Wednesday? Hump day?
Today's Wednesday, Bobby. And I got to tell you, I'm glad we're doing this today because if you're a sports fan, today has been a fucking crazy day, brother. Today has absolutely been great. Great.
We got NFL coaches getting fired. One of the greatest coaches in the history of college football is retiring. That would make your a loyal audience there cry. We had to do kind of a welfare check on a couple of people on social media when they found out that Saban was retiring, make sure they weren't cutting wrists or anything. So,
yeah.
Other than that, man, it's it's been alive and well the last couple of weeks. Nice Christmas break off. I know that you had a good time heading out to New Orleans there for the Sugar Bowl and.
Yep.
Kind of just chilling out and look like we're reset, ready to roll for the new year.
Yeah, other than the game, it was a good time over there. But yeah, with Saban, with Pete Carroll, with all that going on, I mean, it's definitely been something else. But speaking of something else, we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight because I want to. I guess what was it? About a week and a half ago, we saw that Jennifer Kidd was taking over the San Antonio reunion page, and it looks like everything has kind of gone crazy with all of that, where people getting more involved and it's. Yeah, and it's perfect timing. It's perfect timing, by the way, for that to happen. It kind of in the off season right there. So coming up here in a little bit, coming up at 7:00 here on your Wednesday, this dude right here, Eddie Wallace is going to check in. We're going to have some great conversations with Eddie. I think that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be a lot of fun. So Bobby, Chili Bowl ready, man? You ready for Saturday night to watch about 18 hours of racing? Jeez Louise.
Not yet. I'll probably be ready after the Texans lose to the Browns, as hot as the Browns are coming in.
I don't know, dude.
So it depends. We'll see.
I don't know.
I just wish it would start sooner than midnight, the A-Main. I know that they got to do track prep and all of that, and I get that that's important and all that, but you just can't have the A-Main starting at like 11:45.
I agree. I know it's a showcase event and so forth, but it's everything that I bitch about with racing. I mean, it takes forever. I mean, and I saw, so I guess, Larson's coming back. I think I saw Rick Stenhouse Jr. is going to be racing as well. So I guess it's amping up a little bit. They should fucking make them be there from the beginning. You can't just show up on the last prelim day and race. Come on, man. What's that all about? Plus, why is there so many days? Yeah, it's like the asphalt thing. Well, you're there all day. You got to spend the weekend there. I'm just kidding. It's all good. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I hope so. I mean, every year the Chili Bowl delivers some kind of unique story for somebody's unique circumstance. This year be no different. It's just going to depend on who's going to win it, who's in it. I think you're going to see a surprise winner this year for sure with the Chili Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Lots of comments already coming in. Our man Chris Birmingham checking in. And also, yes, indeed, time for the Wild West shootout, as that will be going on as well. My man Fred Tello checking in as well. So, your comments, if you have them as we're going throughout the show, and if you have stuff for Eddie tonight when he jumps on, be sure and drop those comments as well. Bobby, I have, after we talk to Eddie, I got something really cool to drop for next Monday, and this just happened. That's why my camera wasn't on. I was actually working on that, so it's like fresh off the press. The ink is still drying, so we'll do that after Eddie talking about what's going to be going on right there.
That's good. I like it when you surprise me. Then I'm just as surprised as everybody else when I find out the news.
I know. Yeah. I think it'll be a hell of a good time. I think it'll be a hell of a good time with what we got going on with that one. Coming up here a little bit later on. Dan Carroll checking in as well. Hello, Dan. I've seen Dan pretty involved on that San Antonio page as well. I think I saw that he said he actually didn't get to see races there at SAS, but you missed some good stuff. Bobby IROC. I really like what Ray Evernham and so forth, what they're doing right there. the re-energized or the rebranding. Well, I guess they bought the branding and all that. So IROC coming back, I think that'll be pretty cool. Real curious to see what that's supposed to be like. Everything that I've heard about for this year, it's going to be maybe just, bringing back some of the old cars, which I think that'll fucking be really cool. So that'll be cool. But how this will progress, I think will be cool to see with IROC.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you buy the intellectual property of something, I think you get the opportunity to bring in some new ideas and stuff like that. Everybody's first idea is, well, wait a minute, what the hell? This has got to be the same thing that SRX was when Ray Abraham and Tony Stewart and Don Hawk started their deal. Yep. So now you got a guy with millions of dollars like Rob Kaufman involved. They're telling what it's going to be. The first thing was like, well, what the hell are they going to race? Who's going to – the Camaro's dead. What, are they going to get a bunch of Mustangs? You're not going to see an IROC Mustang. Yeah. You're definitely not going to see that anywhere since IROC is synonymous with the Camaro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that I hope is, because towards the end of IROC, I mean, you remember that when it came back, I mean, in the mid 80s when it even happened then to where it was very heavy NASCAR. It was the NASCAR guys, it was the NASCAR tracks and all that. I mean, what I'd really like to see is some sort of car that would be more tailored to some of the non-NASCAR guys. And it's so hard nowadays. I don't know if you can get back to when you had AJ Foyt and Richard Petty and David Pearson and Dan Gurney and Emerson Fittipaldi and all these guys. I mean, I don't know if you can do that these days, but I don't want it to be so NASCAR centric. I mean, I want it to be to where it's a true international race of champions. I mean, you can lay out different dream fields that you could have in IROC, and I just don't know if that'll happen or not. But I think it's very dependent on the car. If it's like the damn NASCAR race car, I mean, forget that shit. I mean, just run a NASCAR race. Look what SGV did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the key, dude. Is going to be what's going to happen with the car, what all they're going to be able to do with it. I mean, even NASCAR today, they made their short track package. They changed everything but the horsepower, and everybody's still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I saw today, with all of that came out. So I don't know. Abel checking in. Abel, no. You are somebody, my friend. You and your family are somebodies in racing. So don't be saying that kind of stuff right there. But that is really cool with that San Antonio thing, that we're getting to see all of those folks coming out of the woodwork right there that are being a part of that and talking about cool stuff. And there's your point right there. What Dan's talking about. It's going to be very similar to IROC. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, I like the vintage idea. I want to see some of those cars come out, the Porsches and the Camaros. Like I said, not so much the Firebirds and all that we saw towards the end of IROC and the rejuvenation or whatever you want to call it. But if you can have a true international race of champions of what it used to be, I think that would be awesome.
It's going to be hard with these lockdown sponsorship deals and manufacturer contracts and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty damn hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I saw right there, I'll pull it up again. Magic Mike Knott said decals in the mail for us, and I saw him putting those on some of his race cars. Again, we want to give a huge thanks. Had a great conversation today with my man, James Cole, On Demand Shirts. Obviously, wearing one of those. Bobby is as well. Working on plans for 2024. Definitely continuing that partnership there with those great folks, and really looking forward to the cool things that are going to be happening right here. Here's a dude that can talk some IROC right here, our man Les Kaiser, talking about IROC 1974 with the Porsches. And that's the ones that I want to see. One of the coolest ones that I saw, Bobby, I think it was a Riverside race, late 70s, where Bobby Allison was out there, and he knocked the ass end off of one of those cars. And I think he concussed himself pretty good. And he came back and he got in one of the, what was the better car, came back and won the next day, where it was a two race thing. Really cool stuff if you go back and watch some of the old original IROC stuff.
Yeah, all the old stuff. Everybody still remembers the Camaros, the Firebirds. I remember when they brought out the Dodge Avengers.
Oh,
that was unique when they had Dodge. They had the Dodge Chargers before they became the Chargers that they are now. The little short wheelbase Dodge Chargers. So lots of good stuff in IROC. I think it's going to be just like everything else. It depends on your genre of which you watched and enjoyed the series. I remember watching it during the Firebird. that's kind of up my alley. You're old school. You like it from the early days of the Caballeros in the early 80s and early 80s up to mid 80s right in there. So I think it's like everything else when it comes to the retro stuff. It's going to depend on which era that which you watched it. So, and IROC's got a history. I mean, they got a hell of a history right there.
Yeah.
74 years of IROC right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things to where if you could get a couple of IndyCar guys, some Formula One guys, some NASCAR guys, but I mean that's a lot to pull off. I mean, I'll tell you where they should have the first race should be at COTA. I think that would be great. I mean, that's kind of that diverse racetrack where you get Formula One guys. I mean, maybe some IndyCar experience. Some of those guys have run there, if once counts. Some NASCAR guys, maybe some Xfinity guys and ladies. I think that would be a great place. Let's start it right here in Austin, the International Race of Champions, at a international world-class facility, being Circuit of the Americas. How about that?
It's possible. Anything's possible. We never thought we'd see NASCAR at COTA to begin with because we thought they were going to block it up at TMS, and lo and behold, now we got 2 dates in Texas, one at COTA, one in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Well, for now, still got the Fort Worth date anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something to watch. So, Bobby, as like we said, first show of 2024. So, diving in here, let's kind of, and what do we have? We got about 15 minutes to Eddie Wallace coming up, top of the hour, 7 o'clock. We'll talk with him. As we go into 2024, let's kind of tailor this thing back maybe to the short track scene, to our scene here in Texas. What are some of the things, in your opinion, that we're kind of looking at right here? We talk all the time on here about with scheduling and so forth, and that continues to be, with the various tracks battling. You only have X amount of dates. So here we go. Modifieds, I know there's going to be a little bit of a shift here with the modifieds. Factory stocks continue to be what they are. We got 11 dates on the pavement in Houston. What are you kind of thinking is going to be the landscape of 2024 for short track racing here in the state of Texas?
Well, I really think that the way that it's going to be determined is what's going to happen in Houston. A lot of the guys on the asphalt scene are now involved in the dirt scene pretty hot and heavy. Because it out of no choice of their own, because if you wanted to be involved in racing, you had to be involved with dirt track because that's all there was, right?
Yeah.
Except for maybe a handful of races in Houston over the course of the last 6 years. This is the closest we're ever going to get in recent memory to Houston. The end of that show there in 2023, there was all kind of momentum that you hadn't felt in Houston in about 15 years. So that was a really good feeling to have there in Houston. So I think that's going to be the key. I think at least for us, I know that our show, obviously, we spot centric, and as we got lower and lower and lower, it became the tracks became lower and lower and lower number. We didn't have much choice but to copy over to dirt, and we both ended up having to change our announcing styles going to dirt versus some of the pavement stuff that we've done in the past. So I think Houston is going to be the pivot point to the scene, at least from Central Texas and southward, because you got Owen involved with 3 tracks now, 4 if you count the go-kart track, but that's not running yet, coming up on the 3rd of February. So that to me is going to be the determining factor of at least racing basically from Waco south.
Yeah. It. I mean, that really is a big thing. I was actually talking to someone from up in the Carolinas last week, and we were talking about the whole asphalt thing with Texas and so forth. And to me, that's something that's going to be really that kind of is the thing that so many folks have transferred over or have made the move over to dirt. So for Houston, yes, I love the amount of dates, but still we're going to get back into, this is on the asphalt side, what we're talking about right here. Still, I think, I'm sorry, I think we need to trim the fat. Trying to figure out the classes and so forth. I totally get the the bootlegger and all of that. Man, I think it's time to try something else. I mean, incorporate maybe the factory stock. I know, neither one of those really, set the world on fire in 2023, but the factory stocks only had, 1-2 shots at it. So I don't know. I think that's something that's going to be important. But the positive sides are when you look at, let's take Pensacola for example. They don't. I mean, they run the modifieds of mayhem, but they don't run modifieds consistently. Where Houston will run modifieds consistently, and it's okay. I mean, it's a fair car count. Pensacola can't run the trucks every race. I think they're running 4 times in Pensacola on a full race schedule for Pensacola and Mobile. Mobile seems to do okay with those, but Houston doesn't have a truck problem. So Houston seems to be in a really good spot with the divisions that are lacking over on the coast, which is kind of weird.
Well, I think that King in Texas, just because of the fact that, granted, we copied the Craftsman Truck Series and the Art Series back in the day, but obviously the trucks in Texas, when Ricky Brooks was coming up and helping Tech at Houston in the early 2010s, he liked what he saw there in Houston, and that's why the truck class in Pensacola. Promoters are not stupid. There's a reason why there's a whole bunch of Crown Vic classes now. Yeah. We did it years ago in the Grand Stocks, having Crown Vic race against each other's and Malibus and all kind of stuff like that. But, now you're getting the Crown Vic classes that have 30 to 40 cars per night. Factory stocks here on dirt in Texas. The promoters aren't stupid. They're going to cater races and cater purses is going to be, hey, if I see money, you see money floating down the street, you got to try to grab it or else it's just going to blow away and you're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the thing. That's where the trucks kind of came into their own. Let's get some of their big purses, but it's it's just going to be a challenge. Every year is a challenge to determine what you're going to run, what you're not going to run. And I just think that that still remains a challenge there for all the classes. Minus the big mods on dirt for the South Texas modified deal.
Yeah, no doubt. You guys, thank you for scanning that QR code. There it is right there. And what that is, that takes you right to the Revved Up site. And what you can do right there is you can listen to all of these shows live. You can actually go there and catch the archive stuff. All of that's there, even the audio podcast, all that shit is right there. So just scan that right there. You can actually save that, I think, as a one of those little things on your phone. You can actually do that right there. So be sure and utilize that as well. So continuing to evolve our little program right here. Bobby, you sent something last night, I think it was. One of the old school, it's like an old school photo of us, man. And damn, this show has kind of changed a little bit in the last however many seasons it's been.
It's changed a bit. I don't know what we were laughing at that day, but I remember that popping up as a Facebook memory and sent that to you. I got some other old ones that I found during some of these Facebook memories that pop up where we had the 2 different size tables and the board right there in the middle, and
yeah.
Tried a couple of different intervention ways to make this stuff work, but it's we're still the little show that could, still making it work, as we are the original and the award-winning racing show in Texas.
A lot of people doing it right now, and a lot of people do it, and they do it extremely well, and that's good. But it is kind of cool that it's come a long way in a lot of seasons. I was having to do something the other day for something with Dirty Air, and they were like, so what season is this? I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I just count the episodes. And I started thinking back to this. I'm like, holy shit. So this, for you and I, this would be what season if we were counting it via seasons?
6 or 7, I'll tell you.
Oh, gotta be more than
that. I gotta be on my phone. I think it's season 7.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because this was right around the time. Remember, we thought it was going to be so important because we had these grand plans.
For a week.
2016. We were going to go the length of the NASCAR playoffs. Remember, we were going to go 10 weeks, and it was right around that time. I think what really catapulted the show was, remember, Kyle closed down, and it was like, well, shit, I guess we got to keep going because there wasn't any way to keep up with anything. But it's been a hell of a good run, and it's good to be doing it again in 2024. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is back to the topic there about 2024 with short track stuff around here. I'm really hoping for a rebound, and we've had so many great conversations on here with guys in the modifieds. I'm really hoping for a big ass rebound, not rebound, but I'm hoping for a continued resurgence for the big mods is what I'm looking for, to be honest.
That'd be great. I mean, that'd be great to have.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. September 20th. The first show was September 20th, 2016.
2016. Damn. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Season 8, dude.
8.
This is season 8.
Once a week, almost. I think this last break we had is probably the longest break we've ever had in 8 years of doing the show.
Shit, this is twice as long as my first marriage. Holy shit. You're a lot cooler than she was.
That's good.
I don't think she watches the show.
I don't think she does either.
I don't think she doesn't want to see my face. I can promise you. Speaking of the modifieds right there, there it is. Stim's racing schedule should be out soon. And that was, and I'm glad we got to be one of the breakers of that right there. That was really cool right there. That kind of got the momentum going right there.
As long as Jacob and them remember to release the schedule here, that'd be great too.
That's right. That's exactly right. My man, Todd, I hope you're doing well. Hope everything is going well for you there, my friend. Billy, what are we saying? Jamie Thomas and Brandy. Yes, I saw that. I saw that yesterday. So, or I think I saw it this morning. So kind of keep those folks in your thoughts and however you feel for people. Really sad thing right there. And I'll tell you, guys, you need to bundle up because that cold is coming, and it's about to get a little spicy around here with the cold, my man.
The news forecast changed again. It's not coming in Sunday night, and it's supposed to be cold as hell come Monday and Tuesday. So,
damn. Speaking of that, my man Billy, well, from Kansas, preparing. See. How great is this? I mean, we get them all the way to Kansas. I found out from a lot of, from Max Calles and all of his great folks right there. We have a tremendous following in Mexico that we talked about, Bobby. So we're kind of nationwide, my brother. Kind of nationwide, my friend.
Slowly but surely, we're conquering the racing world.
Yes, slowly but surely.
Slowly.
Conquering the racing world. So yeah, I think with the Big Mod thing, I think the Stims that's really going to be something that I think is going to be a good spark right there. That'll kind of keep the momentum going. I think it's extremely important for the Big Mods to continue to flourish or to begin to flourish once again. And I'm really looking forward to that and to have them kind of traveling around, from different spots to where it can be a thing where when the modifieds are around, that can kind of be, I mean, it's not going to be the same thing as having the sprint cars around, but it can be one of those things to where it's a big mod show, and that's something that's going to bring fans out. And because it never lacks for excitement. That's for damn sure when it comes to the modifieds. I
think it adds to the allure of the show. No doubt about it. I mean, when you have the racing that should, in theory, follow the South Texas IMCA modified tour, with the guys that we've heard are going to run it and the guys we have a fairly good idea are going to run in it. When those guys get together, whether it's at a Cotton Bowl, at a Texana, at a South Texas Race Ranch, Waco, wherever the case may be, when some of them guys get together, they put on some damn good show. Nothing less from this touring series for the South Texas Big Mods.
Totally agree. Before Eddie Wallace comes on, we were talking about on-demand shirts. They have all the cool gear right here. Was talking, like I said, talked to James Cole earlier. They can help you guys out with all of your racing stuff. How about a quick word from our friends at On-Demand Shirts out of San Antonio? How about that? That's racers helping racers right there, Bobby. That's what it's all about. That is.
I can't wait to order my hoodie. I should have ordered it already, so it'll be ready and prepared for this cold front.
Ooh, man, that's right.
Day late and $1 short. I should have ordered my hoodie a while back. Yeah, I didn't even order it yet, but I got to get with James so he can make me one.
Was talking. One of the things that he and I talked about today is you folks. If you know me, you know that I'm horrible when it comes to the mail. and sending things. It's like I'm terrible with doing that. We talked today. One of the things coming in 2024 with those great folks, it's going to be the online store for this show, handled by them, not handled by me. So that's all of you guys that have reached out to me that I keep telling you I'm sending you a cap. Yeah, it's sitting over there. I just haven't sent it. But they're going to help take care of that. Tim says, yeah, Jose Moore. I want to thank Jose Moore. That's a fellow Lockhart-ite right there, 1989 Lockhart line. He actually helped us more clean. I always say, Tim, be sure and tell him this, that I always say, good clean is okay. More clean is better. He was actually one of our travel partners over to Louisiana. So thank you to Jose Moore right there for being a part of that. Really cool stuff. More clean, great folks. And yes, they would be more than welcome to sponsor this little shit show.
Yes, any sponsorship is welcome. We can make an advertising plan that works for you on a budget that works for you too.
That's right. We will take anything. We will take anything. All right. So the basis of the show, and again, you guys stick around after we talk to Eddie Wallace. He's coming up here in just a minute or so. You guys stick around because it's just kind of happened that with being in the off season, where in the change right there, and kind of the revitalization there. I know that Cindy was doing really cool things there with the San Antonio page. It's like now woken itself up again to where a lot of folks are just rehashing stories, and folks are going out there walking the track again. Hopefully nobody gets shot doing that. Please be careful. But San Antonio has been a lot of fun to talk about again, and really excited to bring on the show because this car popped up, and I'm like, how the hell have we not talked to this dude yet? We got to get him on here. Let's welcome to the Revved Up Sports Show right here. I mean, the last name in and of itself, man. I'll tell you, this is my kinfolk right here. Eddie Wallace. How we doing, brother?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing well, my man. How about you? You ready for the cold, my man? We were just talking about that right there.
Yeah, definitely getting ready for it. I hope it's not as bad as the last couple of years, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
No
We
doubt.
learned a lot 2 years ago. So
yeah. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
So, man, what have you been doing, Eddie? A long time since we've seen you to race. I saw you at Cotton Bowl a couple of years ago, maybe for World Outlaw Show. But, man, after you got done racing, did you just retire and just not show up or try to stay away from it so you couldn't get addicted to it again?
That's a little bit of it. Yeah, the last couple of years, watching a lot of races, I got back into karting for a little while, which is where I started originally.
Yeah.
Figured out I'm way too fat and too old for that. And so it was a lot harder than the first time around, but it was fun. My wife wanted to get into racing and told her, if we're going to do it, this is how we're going to do it. So she got to experience it also. Other than that, just kind of catching up on all the things I didn't do, during my racing career. There's a lot of years of just really not going on vacations or doing anything, just living that life, and really just catching up with that, messing with some street cars now, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And Eddie, isn't that the thing? I mean, folks don't understand. Now I know racing schedules are different now, but I mean, back when we all were more involved with it on the competitive side, folks think it never stops now. Back then, it really never stopped. It was nonstop all the time.
For sure. Had a great conversation at the kart track one time with Doug Foxworth, which you may know from racing, drag racing down there. He was a big into karting also, and we're talking about his Top Fuel days and my late model days, and talking about just the average racer, like in karting, and they don't understand until you start getting to a certain level that it's an everyday, every night thing. Especially back then, I feel like we're at the end of an era with Romco before late model racing really changed with the Davidsons, Grimes, all those guys that building their own cars, working on them week in and week out. And I think that's why you see a lot of the driving styles change these days, is because those guys aren't hanging bodies during the week and doing all that repair work, So it definitely is a lifestyle that, you live poor for sure, just to put every dollar you can into the car.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Eddie, Rodney mentioned it being a Wallace, long line of lineage of Wallaces on both sides of the family tree. My question for you this week, though, is coming from a racing family, is it harder or easier to be involved in the business or be a part of the business? Like, is it one thing that was expected for you to race And then once you started racing, was there expectation? Tell me about being part of that Wallace Racing clan.
Well, I mean, I think there were certain expectations. I mean, it was a little bit different for me versus, let's say, Jake Jr. or Heath Stewart, any of those, because, when I started in quarter midgets, it went to karting, and then I went to do some international racing and like single seaters and karts and stuff. And I didn't come back to oval racing until I went into Legends cars. And so I kind of came in it new in a way, but obviously knowing a lot of people there. At the time. So I didn't have quite that pressure that maybe that they did at the time, but yeah, definitely, on all sides of my family for sure. A lot of other connections, David Umshad, the Umshads, for example, just with this kind of a family connection there because David was, in the neighborhood. My dad was racing at Pan American and helping him on the car. And that's one of the ways he got involved in motorsports. And so it's just amazing how it just goes full circle. It takes you somebody to get you into that circle, to get it all started, but I wouldn't say there's much extra pressure. No, not really.
Yeah. Eddie, you mentioned right there about the Legends. So that was really when I began to see you and realize that you were doing that. Kind of talk about that because when you were doing that, I mean, you look at Legends now, still a big deal. North Carolina, Vegas, different spots like that. But kind of talk about those days of racing Legends when you were doing that, man. That was holy shit. The Legends, man, that was a massive deal back then when you were a part of that.
Yeah, it really was a big deal. Like I say, that was, my kind of getting back into the oval racing. And, it was a big learning curve for sure. But, it was unbelievable how big it really was at that time. I mean, you had a lot of the guys that were out of the TIDA series previously, running in there, Ralph Burris and Umshad and all them. And a lot of traveling. I mean, we would run Nashville Wednesday night and then go run Texas on Thursday night and then go race somewhere Saturday. It was just, it was amazing, and at that time. And it was a really good series too. The concept of those, some people say cookie cutter cars, and I understand that, but it did help hold the cost down until all those junkyards, salvage yards out there, they had all those Toyota parts, figured out what they had.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just shot out the roof. And I think that's a lot of what killed it. Just, started off great and then kind of, transferred into just getting more expensive to run than a regular car, and so, but it was amazing, really competitive, very even racing, being able to run at some of the bigger tracks like Charlotte Motor Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway. I think that they really made a difference, but it was, great experience for me. I wish I would have jumped straight from that to late models actually, instead of going to the truck series and stuff before, but it was great. I had a lot of fun, a lot of memories from there.
No doubt.
You mentioned the trucks. What was the transition like? I mean, was it the power to weight ratio thing? Because we've seen guys be very successful going from Legends into super late models, and then with the automatic and the 305s, is that just where it would have been better to go straight to super?
Yeah, definitely, because I came out of karting and then some other single seater racing was a very light cars, a lot of traction. Going into the Legends, you had a lot of power, not a lot of traction, but the power to weight ratio was really good. Yeah, so with the trucks, I mean, really low power, especially at that time, and just all about momentum. And that really had to kind of learn everything again. But we ran good, and then turn back around and then get into a late model. It was a transition back the other way, really, But again, it was at the time, the series was pretty new at the time. That was the late '90s, really. And I think it was a great concept again because racing's all about trying to get the expense down somehow. And so, again, I think it was a good concept. There was definitely some holes in it with automatic transmissions and all that. Yeah. But being able to go out to Irwindale, run at the Nationals, we finished fourth there. Colt James won that day. It was still a lot of fun. Got a lot of experience doing it for sure.
There's a lot of that, Eddie, that I wish would come back. I mean, when you look at it now, I mean, some of that, because it was with the trucks. I mean, at that point, it was like, what the hell is this? But man, it really did. I mean, even with the Legends, I mean, like you talk about right there, it really did narrow the field down to where it was up to you guys to drive that, or it was up to the driver more. I've seen a couple of comments right there. Let's talk about your dad. We can kind of go to late models and all that. Talk about right there. I mean, so many of us, that's why we do this shit. It's our dads, it's our family. Talk about your dad, man. That is one of the baddest asses that I ever got to see behind the wheel back in the day.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you a great story about that real quick. My dad, he raced karts for a long time down in the San Antonio area, helping his brother Jake Wallace, which is Mary Ann's dad. And then decided to go do his own thing. So he started running Pan American, won the track championship the first year down there with car he built right there in our garage, and really only raced about 3 years, so really wasn't not that long as far as stock car racing goes. Of course, that guy was young at that time, and then so I started my racing career in 81 in quarter midgets at 5 years old. So go through all of that. And, always knew he was a good driver just based on his record, people talking about him, everything. So we're at Longhorn Speedway one day practicing the Legends cars. And at that time in the Pro Series, we'd kind of really got a hold of the setups and doing good. And pretty much David Umshad and I were the fastest two cars in the Pro Series.
Right. And
usually about 2/10 ahead of everybody at Longhorn. So we're out there practicing one day. And, of course, we'd always time each other, David and I, just because we were, just trying to see who could nudge each other out. So at the end of a practice session, we were running about as fast as we'd ever run there. So was David. So Dad says, hey, let me take it for a few laps. So he gets in my car, and with the ballast and everything, he's probably about 30 pounds overweight. And he couldn't fit in the seat hardly. One session, and going out there about 7 or 8 laps, on about 8th lap, he ran faster than both David and I did. This would be 1997, and he hadn't raced since about 1980 or 79. And so that opened my eyes right there with, man, this guy, a lot of respect, really, for sure. I wish he would have had a better chance, with more money and that type of thing. But, let's face it, people talk about, like all of us back then with the late models and some of the great drivers that were around then, Slick Yeoman and all them. But, honestly, probably some of the fastest local drivers are out there running a hobby stock somewhere, things like that. They just don't have the money to get up there higher, and things like that, which is a shameful. It's kind of a shame in racing. That's the bad part about it, but it kind of is what it is. And you just got to get out there and do what you can do, with whatever class you compete in,
So Eddie, I'm thinking about that right there. Sorry about that, Bobby. I'll forget if I don't ask him. So when he got on the track out there, that was with that fresh pavement, because I think that thing had just gotten repaved around 96. So
yeah, I think so.
God,
yeah,
that was nice. Oh man.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, that definitely opened my eyes to his ability and just. But all of us have always been pretty successful. All the Wallaces and Stewarts, and and just a lot of us, you just pass on knowledge, from generation to generation as you go. You really do.
Well, I can tell you, Jake Jr. taught me how to drink beer like I had never thought that I would be capable.
That is for sure. Yep. Oh man, yeah, that is for sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
Now you bring up too many stories of the Duke, Jake Wallace Jr. We're going to be here all night long. I'm sure Eddie's got a couple of them. I'm sure that he could share because the statute of limitations is over.
Right.
But you mentioned earlier about the junkyard parts. Now a little different with the late model because you couldn't really go to late models. The newer, like your style late models, especially the brand new stuff now. Is that kind of putting a hamper on racing because guys, it's easier to, I say easier in air quotes. You can order out of a catalog versus, just get the point and click and get the part that you need to replace, in a couple of days, or unbolt the piece that you needed, come back, bolt it back up, all that good stuff. Is that what's hurting racing now, or is that just the way that everything's going now?
Well, I think there's multiple answers to that question because in some ways, yes, but the problem is those parts are running out. They're not out there anymore. I mean, like the metric frames, for example, they're just going away, and we got to do something, and just like with the Legends cars, another good example back to the trucks too, with automatic transmissions, with the lack of manual transmissions and stuff like that today, those things are running out. They had to turn to aftermarket parts. Like running some of the Burt and Bryn transmissions that the modifieds allow, it's cheaper than trying to build a good automatic. Then you've got to start thinking outside the box on a lot of this. Other thing too is that, most guys cannot fabricate or have a place to fabricate a lot of these parts anymore. So, if you want to update a front clip or something, a lot of guys, you could buy the clip, the hard part, and then you could, graft it onto your own chassis or whatever, because you could weld and all that, but just less and less people do that nowadays. And, my situation was a little bit different, especially with the engines. I mean, we built pretty much every engine we ever ran personally, even in late models. It's like at San Antonio, for example, we never had a lack of horsepower there. I mean, we always had really good power there. And those engines came right out of mine and my dad's shop. We built those things together. We'd have the machine work done is all. And that's a question we got a lot when we'd run down there is, man, who builds those motors? Like, well, we do. It's just, but it's not because we wanted to necessarily, but you just had to make it happen. And I think a lot of that is just less and less people that can do that nowadays. So that opens up the question, okay, what do you do to get people into racing and to, make it where they can maintain that car week to week without paying somebody else to do it that knows how to do it? Because it seems like that knowledge is kind of going away. It's in general out there, less technicians, that type of things in the sports. And so, yeah, it's a hard question to answer. But as far as fabricated parts, I think it can actually make it cheaper in a lot of cases when parts start to get rare.
Yeah. And it seems like these days, I mean, that's a really good point because there's always people ready to help these days, but they want to be paid. If you want advice, they want to be paid. You don't get the whole, with setup help and all that. Glad you mentioned San Antonio because that's kind of how this jarred everything. Talk about that racetrack for you. I know you mentioned it seemed like most drivers, it was either you loved it or you hated it. Because that place, it would chew your car up, but I'll be damned, you never went unless you race it at TWS. But talk about San Antonio, especially you guys in late models.
Well, I personally loved it. I like you say, people either loved it or hated it. And we always ran really good there. I had the horrible luck there. I can think of 4 times off the top of my head that I had gotten into the lead and broke an axle one time. The rear end cover started leaking one time. Broke a rocker arm one time, like right after taking the lead. It was just terrible luck there, but I loved racing there. I think because it was just a challenge, for most people didn't like it. I think it's a lot of it, but it's definitely my favorite track to race. Man, I loved all the tracks. I love Corpus and all them, Thunder Hill. Thunder Hill's kind of our home track, so of course I love that. But yeah, San Antonio, I think a lot of it's just the uniqueness of the banking. Driving off in that corner, just to hit that bank and go up that hill just to get that thing stopped, and just like I said, we just always seem to run good there for some reason. Just love that place.
Oh man, absolutely. San Antonio, they would always tell me, okay, you run to the light. It's like, don't let off until you get to the light. And it's like, I'm sitting there driving, I've got it to the floor and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I can feel my nuts. I'm not anywhere near the light yet.
Oh yeah, you drive it all the way down, you hit the stripe on the inside, then you let off. And it's just a lot of fun to, like say, I think too, because you had options at that track that which unfortunately so many asphalt tracks you don't have options, but because of the nature of the banking and the way it would flatten out coming off the corner, I mean, if you could get it turned good enough in the middle of the corner, you could get up underneath somebody. It's always kind of my favorite spot was coming off too. And because with that dip in the track and all of that, if you hit it just right, I mean, you could that was a great place to set people up to pass. But it did give you some options, even though it was a really hard track to get around. It really wasn't a one groove racetrack. You could actually get side by side and race on that place. Just stay away from that boulder plate.
Yeah, you got that right.
So how bad were the bumps in that little bump going into turn 1 by the crosswalk, and then you had the bump in turn 2? I guess where the pit gate would come in and out.
Yeah.
Was it noticeable? I don't really feel it in them late models.
Man, the 1 and 2 at the cross where they would cross over right there. Yeah, you would feel it. You would actually unload the motor a little bit. I mean, you'd spin the tires coming over there, so you had to be really careful to have the car real straight. In the truck series and stuff, it really wasn't a big deal, but in the super late models, you had to have the car real straight right there. Or if you were trying to like turn underneath somebody or something, you had to be ready to kind of breathe it a little bit right there because it would turn loose on you right there. But the bumps going into 1, 2 were definitely you had to run, especially your shocks. That was during that era that was really getting into the tie down shocks and the big sway bars. But you couldn't really run it as much as San Antonio. You just had to you had to comply to that ground. And so it definitely was a little unique there versus other high bank tracks like Mobile and places like that.
Mm-hmm. I always thought it was cool, because we would, when my dad was racing, we would pit, over on the backside, on the back straightaway, and it was always cool whether it was late models, whatever it was, to sit right there when you would go when guys would go by at where the pit gate was on the backstretch. You'd hear, it really was a jolt back there.
Yeah, if you ran the shocks and stuff too stiff too, especially, it would jar the heck out of the drivetrain over there. But it was again, it was fun, just like Corpus, that place too. Even man, such a hole. But man, it was just, and the pits were horrible, and you get stuff in the tires trying to roll over to qualify. And but man, once that racing started, it was an amazing place. But San Antonio's had that charm, some of these tracks that are nice and sweet, like Houston. I love Houston, but it's a beautiful place. It's nice, but it just didn't have that, Mad Max feel to it like those other tracks did. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the boilerplate. That's what it is. Because you knew when you got it into the boilerplate, you knew that wasn't very forgiving. When you got to the boilerplate, it ate a bunch of cars.
It sucked you in. Yeah, some tracks you get away rubbing that wall a little bit coming off the corner, but that was definitely not one of them. I mean, a couple times I got away with it, tapping it a little bit, but other than that, it would just suck you in and wouldn't let go.
Yeah. You're going to be working hard, if not building a new car after you hit that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So Eddie, I did get on text. Tell me about the first time when you were in the Legends, when you went to a full-bodied car and actually ran in a full-bodied race and so forth. If you happen to recall that.
Actually, the very first time was Wichita Falls. And one of Jake Jr.'s cars. Yes.
Yep.
So, man, I don't know if I can tell the whole story or not. There was a Legends car race at in Austin there at Longhorn. There was a little controversy about a crash between David Umshad and myself for the lead, and involved a lot of people, including Jake Jr., and so they had that big end of year race at Wichita Falls every year up there.
Yeah.
Yep. And so Jake says, "Hey man, I got an extra car. You're going to come run it." And so we said, "Yeah, sure." So I mean, that's the first time actually we went out and hot lapped one time at Longhorn for about 5 laps, and then headed up there. That was my first time going in a full size car like that, and it was definitely a struggle, but I've been to that track before, at least running Legends cars. And, but it was talk about a learning curve, but I think we wound up 4th or 5th at that event, so we did really good, but it was, honestly, it was a great time for other reasons besides that. I mean, it was basically my dad, myself, Jake Jr. and Jake Sr. up there, and just a few other people. And so, I had not personally spent a lot of time with Jake Sr. at that time, because we've been racing other places and stuff, and that was not too long before he passed away, and it was a really short period actually. And so it was an awesome memory to have, father sons like that, and from both sides of the Wallace family there, and it was really neat, a special time for sure,
no doubt.
Yeah.
So we're talking about San Antonio being fun. You keep mentioning Corpus. That was one of those tracks, like you said. It was no sugarcoating that thing, right? You can only paint so many, only paint a turd so many different ways, right? But the action on that track was great. I never understood though how the hell you guys in them super late models and late models back in the day were able to take all that horsepower and make it around that tight quarter-mile bore.
Right.
It just seems like crackers in a fishbowl, man. It was nuts, but damn, it was fun.
Yeah, honestly, you didn't. I mean, you didn't really go wide open, in that 125 laps we normally ran until the very end. No. The last 5 or 6, 10 laps at the most. A lot of guys would run 2 barrels, things like that. But yeah, it was you'd burn the tires right off of it. But again, another kind of multi-groove track because of the way the banking was built there. First time I was telling this story today to somebody. So normally, all your touring series run, at the end of the night or whatever. So the very first year we ran, got into late models, we went down there and they did the schedule and we qualify, they have intermission, and then we race. And the late models are racing first. I was like, man, why is that? That's really strange, And so we ran, and I think we broke our rear differential or something that first time down there, and then loaded up and noticed everybody else hauled ass, to get out of there. Well, we stayed and watched the races. And then once they commenced the racing, I figured out why we ran first, because they did not throw a yellow unless somebody was upside down or fire. And I mean, whoever won that night in whatever class, I just remember they didn't like him because here come the beer bottles over the top of the wire. But I mean, but it was awesome because the fans were so into it, and you had that road, you went down in front of the grandstands right there, just like Pan American.
Oh,
had,
yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny. Late models were a little different, but you tell the local guys, boy, they were like divided into sections, whose crowd you were in with the local boys. And that was the wildest thing I ever seen. I just couldn't wait to go back. And so that's actually when our first Romco late model race was down there the next time we went down there. And just loved it ever since then. Just man, all kinds of stories down there. Yeah, that was a wild place.
Yeah, Corpus was always just the race was kind of a sideshow for me when I would go down there. It's like, oh, by the way, I got a race too. It was all the other bullshit that was going on. We got a couple of Corpus guys checking in right there. Joey Heineman talking about you. I mean, that's a synonymous name down there. He himself.
Sure.
Long time racer. I'm glad you mentioned Romco. You've mentioned that a couple of times there, Eddie. Talk, man. I know now we've got Southern Super Series, All Pro, ASA, whatever, SRL, and all that stuff, and that's great. I'm glad that we have super late model racing. But like you said, it really seems to me for true economical, good super late model racing. For me, in my opinion, and I work for those other series at times, it kind of all ended with you guys in Romco. That was really what set a really good mark for super late model racing.
It really did. I mean, and we didn't know it at the time, that would be happening. I mean, we could start to see it on the East Coast, the snowball in places where the money was coming in, but I mean, if you look back at the drivers then kind of the tail end of TIDA, the end of the Romco or Jay Watson and obviously the Davidsons, both of them. And, I grew up watching some of those guys. I mean, first time I went to run against Greg Davidson was like, he was always my hero, and to race on the same track with him was one thing. Then to actually race fender to fender with him was something else, but it was definitely like an end of an era that we didn't really realize was coming to an end at the time, really didn't. But it's just the money, it's just the money breeds money, and it takes more and more to do it to be competitive. I mean, look at Casey Smith. He's what he's done. People don't really realize, they have nice equipment. They really do. But, he is not one of those Toyota development teams or anything. So what he's been able to do, up until recently is pretty amazing, really, So that's another family connection right there too. Is Casey's dad, actually lived, where Jake and Dad did too, in the same neighborhood, and that's how he got into racing too. And Casey and him forever since his quarter midget days and everything. Just superb race car driver. But yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, like I said, at the time we didn't really appreciate, what was going on, and I personally didn't appreciate all the things that I had done until after it was all over. And we decided to finally get out of it and kind of hang it up, so to speak. We look back. Dad and I talked about this a lot. About, from our days all the way back to karting, all the way up through late models and who we raced against, what we were able to do with what we had. And, those times we'd go home so pissed off because we finished third or fourth. And then you look back and go, damn, that was pretty good. Yeah. That was amazing, for what we were able to do. But like, so you don't really realize in the moment, you're just disappointed because you didn't win, but now when you look back, you're like, wow, that was really pretty cool. And just, people, you don't really realize how many people are following you and that type of thing too. I remember especially in late models, there was this young lady, had 2 kids, Hispanic lady, and they'd always come in and always let you into the pits after the races. Right. And so if we did good, it'd be in tech, and they'd always come and talk. And I never realized until after we quit racing how much they really followed me from Legends cars on up. And I had no idea, and I look back at that today and just feel honored, really do.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like this show, for instance. Like when I grew up, I was a Slick Yeomans fan, right? He was a Ford. I was a Ford guy. I was probably 12 years old, maybe. And then finally getting to interview him on this show, I sent Karen, his wife, a shirt or a picture of me wearing my Slick Yeomans shirt in a bicycle race at Longhorn. So it's funny how racing at some point becomes so cyclical and the circle of life gets completed. You mentioned racing against Greg and some of those guys. Who was your rival back in the day? I mean, I know you talked about racing David. I'm shot in the Legends cars, but in late models?
Brandon Bendelay, probably, was a big one. Greg and Chris, Tommy, Grimes. A lot of them, honestly, could have been where you went, which track, but especially at San Antonio, it seemed like Brandon and I a lot. Colt James, because we raced trucks together, and talk about a super driver, Colt James, and just super clean driver. It's amazing. But a lot of driving talent back there. It really is amazing when you look back at the guys. But yeah, I mean, and Brandon was again another super clean driver that actually met all the way back in karting. When I started go-karting, he was go-karting at the time, and of course my dad knew his dad from racing previously. Like I say, it's all big circle, But yeah, at a lot of tracks like that, it seemed like Tommy Grimes and always ran good together at like Thunder Hill. But at San Antonio, it was always Brandon and I, and it's just different tracks, different ones. But honestly, always had positive rivalries, interactions, especially in the late models. I mean, I didn't get much trouble like I did in some of the other series, but
isn't that kind of the vast difference right now? I mean, it never fails. Like talking about late model racing nowadays, you turn on, you name the race, and it's going to end up with people getting, dumping each other at the end of the race and all that shit. But that's one of the things that I go back to, like you were talking about, into TIDA, into you guys in Romco, man. You guys race the hell out of each other, but damn, it was clean. You guys, there was a lot of respect back then.
I think, again, it goes back to, I mean, and I tell you what changed for me. I'll get to that in a second, but it goes back to working on the cars yourselves, I think, a lot. It's your punishment, I mean, it's your time out when you got to start working on your own race car. And I think just as the drivers are brought up, what's the way they're taught? When Romco went in USRA series after that ended, we went to race Houston a lot. And there were some old Romco drivers and late model drivers down there, but there was a lot of new crowd in there too. A lot of them that were paying to have their cars built, and things like that. And that's kind of what drove us out of it, because it was just different down there. I mean, if you got the money it's just like anything else. If your boss doesn't watch you at work, you're going to show up late. You're going to take an extra long lunch and all that because nobody's watching you and do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just human nature. And in racing, if you can get away with just moving somebody over, then you're going to do it. Now, as a race fan, when I'm sitting in the stands and I'm not paying the bills, it's kind of fun to watch. But when you're the one that's having to take 4 jacks and figure out how to load that thing in the trailer and figure out how to get it back out there a few weeks later, it's definitely a different story, But yeah, I mean, you can obviously put on some great racing without that happening. I think the spotters drive the cars too much nowadays, a lot of it.
Amen.
If you look what happened to the Derby this year, with Nasty and Pollard, I mean, the way we drove back then, you had to be to the door, so Bubba wouldn't have been in there far enough. But the way that they do it now, where you basically just got to have your nose in there, technically he was in there and the spotter should have told him. I think it's one thing, with like dirt track racing, we don't have spotters. You see a lot more give or take, because if you're not all the way up there, that guy's not going to see you. If you're on the outside, he's going to run you in the wall. You just know it's going to happen. So where in, asphalt racing, you're relying on another driver up there on that stand to tell them that you're on the outside or inside or whatever to help you drive the car, And some ways I think just taking the spotters away may be something to try, to clean some of that up. But a lot of just mindset. I mean, even quarter midgets, where I started when they ran the Nationals here in Austin, 5 or 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was. I went out there and I could not believe the way those kids were just beating the hell out of each other on the track. Stuff we would have never done, It's just, it starts right there at 5 years old, and then it just comes on up from there. But just it seems like some of the racecraft is gone, because of that.
Love that.
You can't get by somebody and they're holding you up, you just bump them, move them over, and it's just accepted, which, I mean, if I would have done that to Greg Davidson back in the day, he would have been at my trailer, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it's just the way we just did it,
Yeah. No, I agree. Great point. I love that.
Yeah, back in the day, you knew somebody could come whoop your ass. If you just can't beat the kid's ass, you might can beat dad's ass, but you can't beat these young
I
kids' ass
know.
no
Yeah,
more.
yeah. That's a problem too. I mean, if they get in that race car, they're adults in my mind. I think they too many of them do rush them in there too. They're too young. I mean, I think you should start young because you learn faster and all that. But man, there's a whole lot of other things you can go race out there before you get into a late model, or something like that.
Yeah.
So there got to be some kind of restrictions put on it. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. So, Eddie, I see the helmet sitting back there behind you. I've seen you at Cotton Bowl. Any thoughts on that? I mean, if you're out there watching them, is there anything that intrigues you with any of that when you're out there sitting there watching those guys around that big old place?
I'd like to learn it. I mean, dirt racing. When I look back at when we decided to get out of late model racing, and a lot of this because it was dying down. It really was. We had to start traveling, and we had already gone to the crate motors, which was I think a mistake in a lot of ways because we sold all. We had to sell a bunch of other stuff to go buy a crate motor to to be able to afford to do it. And I remember Chris Davidson coming to me one time and said, "Man, I'll give you a motor. Just come race with us, or let you use a motor." And probably should have taken him up on that to go run at Mobile and some other places that we used to run at. And yeah, I should have switched to dirt then. Should have done it. I didn't because I'd never done it before, type of thing. Knowing what I know now and talking to other people like Heath who have done it, and I should have done it. I'd probably still be racing one of those things right now if I did, But once you sell everything, it's hard to start over. And once you get out of the habit of living that life too, you can't really go back to that.
Oh, man. Eddie, so many people ask me, it's like, do you miss racing? And it's like, yes, I miss being on the grid, on pit road, whatever it is. I miss that part, getting on the track, actually driving. I don't miss all the other bullshit. And I was hardly doing the work that you guys were. It is, man. It's stupid. It's crazy that life.
Yeah, I would consider like with the Houston thing going. Yeah, I mean, if somebody called me and said, "Hey, you want to drive a car?" I would definitely say yes.
There it is.
Now, if I had to build a car and go down there, maybe not.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's like anything else. Going to the gym or whatever. Once you stop doing it, it's just hard to get back. I mean, I loved it, loved everything I did. I would do it all over again, for sure, and continue to do it. But it has changed. I mean, like I said, when we got back into go karting again. The local level used to be much more laid back, more fun. Now everybody's got new equipment and big ass trailers, and which was still fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's just changed. I mean, I feel like dirt racing at least has still held on to a lot of that, old school mentality. People, I guess you could say, where asphalt racing seems to have just gone completely. You see stacker haulers. I mean, when you see street stock pull up with the stacker trailer, but and I think it's a barrier to people getting in too, because they see that and they think that's what I got to have to go race it. I got to have a stacker and I got to have a car that's wrapped and all this stuff. When that car doesn't know how it showed up. Remember the first time I ever went to Cotton Bowl, Dad and I went out there years ago, right after they opened, and we got there a little bit late. This truck and trailer, like flatbed open trailer, wasn't even really a race car hauler, comes hauling ass up to the gate trying to get in there. It was all flat black and modified. I'm saying modified, and so didn't know who he was, and so didn't have numbers on it. So he goes out there, starts in the back of the heat race. By that time, he's got a duct tape number on the side. Was PJ Egbert, and he drove straight from the back, straight to the front in the heat race and in the main. And I knew who he was then because I've always obviously heard of them,
Yeah.
But that shows you, I mean, they just built a brand new car basically. So they just put it on that flatbed trailer and hauled it. That car didn't know how it got there, but he went straight from the back to the front because it was right, Yeah. And I think that it's just the barriers to getting in as a racer. It just now, if you're not a fan, if not in your family where you can just share that, it's so tough now. And I think that's a big thing that tracks need to look at. And I know you talk about on your show a lot too, is, how do you change that where somebody that wants to go racing can get in there and do it, It's a tough question and tough answers.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So what racers always remember the one that got away. So here's your double-edged. Which one is the race that you remember getting away the most? And which one was your most favorite victory that you can remember?
Let's start with favorite victory. It's easy. I got two, actually. So Oktoberfest down at San Antonio was one of them. That was one. And then also when I won the Canadian Nationals, that was a big one for me too. Because we had qualified on the pole, and then they had basically called a pre-final, which is like a heat race, and I broke an engine in it. So we had to start in the back of the main. And so we started 30 seconds and went all the way to we finished second technically, but my teammate won and got disqualified. So
Nice.
So that was a memorable too, to be able to go at a national level and basically drive from the back, like that. Those two races really stand out a lot more than anything. The one that got away, wow, man, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, there's usually more of those, unfortunately.
Oh my God, those are just countless. But unfortunately, talking about San Antonio, it seems like most of them happened there. One specifically I remember, and I think it was an Oktoberfest race too. Brandon and I were racing for the lead, and I finally got up underneath him to get by him, and a yellow came out. And so as we're coming around to get ready to start lining up again, I could tell something had broken the back of the car, because it was only driving off the right rear wheel. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. We take the lead of the Oktoberfest. This happens. So I come on down pit lane, radio to him, said something's broken in the rear end. So of course everybody's kind of standing out in pit lane, right? Yeah. And so as I'm coming down pit lane, everybody's jumping back out of the way. I'm like, what are they doing? So I was just kind of putting along there. Well, I didn't know the axle was sticking out of the back of the housing back there because it had broke off the drive flange, and that was a big one that definitely got away. But the other big one too, back in karting again, we went to Wisconsin and raced, and kind of the same scenario. I'd done bad in the heat race, had a flat tire, so I had to race from the back, and I got up to like second or something, but it was a really good run, and I weighed in 2 ounces too light on the scales. So drove all to Wisconsin to get disqualified for 2 ounces. Yeah, that was a rough one too. But yeah, probably that San Antonio race more than anything.
Oh man, damn, 2 ounces! Wow.
Yeah,
that.
Don't ask my mom about that one because, and I know she's watching right now, but she'd been on Dad and I. We were trying to, because weight's a huge thing in those things, and so. We were trying to cut it close on fuel, right? We were calculating it out, because you wanted to be as light as you could. And for some reason, she was on our ass about, man, did you put enough fuel in that thing? Dad and I both put enough fuel in that thing. And I, oh yeah, we're fine. And then after that, oh man, we had to drive all over Wisconsin back to Texas listening to that. Yeah, she was, listen to her. I told you it's gonna be too light, And so yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. Good memories for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Eddie, my man, this has been a lot of fun. Man, thank you for doing this. It's kind of you mentioned it a while ago. I mean, I know. There you go. There's the check-in right there.
That's funny.
It's one of those things you can kind of step away a little bit from it and maybe, but I mean, you always come back, whether it's a fan or a casual or getting into a different form of it. Man, we just can't escape this shit, can we?
No, you really can't. And you learn a lot once you get out of it too. I think we always grow up looking at some of these drivers and, but you meet a lot of drivers. Oh yeah, he used to race this and that. And you don't really know till you look back. I mean, one that comes to mind quickly is Steve Klesnick, for example. I'd met Steve 1,000 times and knew he raced late. I didn't realize how big a deal he was back then,
He was a bad son of a gun. I remember.
Yeah, and I've known him. Of course, he's real good friends with Tom Taylor, Texas Tom. And I didn't know till later, and he's a great friend, and everything. But yeah, you see him in the stands and Easter race, and of course, we're good friends with Jimmy Finger, Fireball, and all them too, and yeah, unless you know those guys, you know how badass they were back in the day, and. So I would like to give a shout out to Tom, Taylor. Nobody knows Texas racing like that guy. I mean, it's amazing. And, you know, we had known him. Next time you see him, ask him about Pan American Speedway and the hood of his truck. So he will tell you a story about me and the hood of his truck back at Pan American years ago. So I was too young to remember it, but it's a great story. But yeah, talk about a great guy that knows so much of this. I mean, unbelievable help. Because we, you know, most of our help was not local. I mean, I had guys like Chip Albritton, some guys that I work with that would come work on the race car. For the most part, this is Dad and I working on that late model, you know, at night and getting it ready and everything. But, you know, the guys that did come over and those are the unsung heroes, you know, and that's why I get really pissed off when I see drivers yelling at their crew and things like that, especially at the non-paid level, you know. It's like, I mean, I lost so many races. I mean, the one at San Antonio where the rear end cover started leaking because one of my crew guys didn't have that quick change cover squared up when they tightened it down. And again, it was another race we were leading and then got black flagged. Yeah. But you know what? How can I be mad at somebody who is volunteering their time to come help me do this? You know, I mean, they didn't have to do that. I didn't pay them $1 other than, you know, paying their way into the gate maybe and buying them some food. But I mean, they took their day and their time to do that. And I think a lot of racers don't appreciate that, the people that are doing that for them, and they don't get nothing. You know, we get the trophy and you know all this kind of stuff and the pictures and all that, but yeah, they don't get anything. Yeah, I think
that's right.
It keeps racing going for sure.
It does. Great point. Great point. Labor of love. If you're doing this,
oh yeah, for sure.
I don't give a damn what form that you're doing it. Eddie, my man, let's do this again soon, man.
Yeah, let's do it again. Heck yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure that we'll see you at Cotton Bowl. Good luck. Good luck trying to stay out of one of those dirt cars. I think they're going to get you in there sooner or later. So
Marianne's been working on it. Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of what I'm gathering right here, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Great memories. Congratulations on doing some really cool things back in the day, man. I love what you guys did, and thank you so much for being a part of this, man. It's been fun.
I appreciate it, guys.
You got it, man.
Right,
take care.
Right.
You bet. You bet. There he goes. Eddie Wallace. How about that right there? That is some great conversation. That is some great content talking to him right there, man. Super cool. That's what racing was. If you're new to the show, that's what racing was back in the day.
And it's always a great, you know, as much as we miss the off season, you know, we don't have live racing to go to every week. It is times like this when we get to talk to the people that had an impact on the sport and make a new generation or some new fans of the sport down here aware of just how badass it used to be. We didn't know how good we had it. We mentioned that with Slick and David and John Kelly and Greg and everybody. We just never knew how good we had it back in the day. We kind of took it for granted, and hell, now we wish we had it back.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a cool thing about like with the San Antonio site, where it's kind of pushed us once again to go back and realize that. I think a lot of folks, what they need to do with that, because I know in the past when the San Antonio race reunion site comes to life again, it's like, okay, we got to get the track back. That's going to be really hard. It's going to be damn near impossible. What you need to do is really go back and listen to that conversation with Eddie. Go back and look at some of those pictures and the folks that are writing things on that page. Go back and read that and realize that what we had was amazing. And like you said, man, some of my memories in this sport, I mean, everything that you and I have done, that I've gotten to do different things. I mean, none of that is as cool. And a lot of it for me is not even behind the wheel. I mean, when Dad was driving, every fucking Saturday going to San Antonio, every time that I go down 183 and I get to I-10, I just feel like I should take a right. You know what I mean? Because it was 24 times a fucking year we did that.
Back to back race every week again. I don't know how those guys in Waco and 105 do it every single week. That's just too much nowadays. Way too much.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Great stuff with Eddie Wallace. We will definitely have him back on. Just great conversation. Hey, you guys stick around because kind of on the heels right there, what we're talking about with Eddie, next Monday, Bobby don't even know this. Next Monday is going to be one really good another show. So that's coming up. You guys stick around, but first we got to entertain some of the folks who make this show possible.
Hey racers, Phil Whipple here with the Revved Up Sports Show. For the past year, you've heard us talking about our partners over at Generation Race Cars. I'm proud to say they're back again this year, and they're off to a great start. Generation Race Cars, located in Springtown, Texas, continues to offer new chassis body combos all the way to turnkey sport mods and limited modifieds. All cars are built the same as you've seen in Victory Lane with drivers like Alex Hickam, Jeff Shepard, and Dean Abbey. All customers are valued and treated equally, so why not join the winning team? Justin Long is committed to giving each and every customer the time they deserve, along with a commitment to bring quality into every build. If you're ready to join the team, give the guys over at Generation Race Cars a call today at 817-528-2947. You put a lot into your racing program, so why not take it to victory lane with Team GRC?
Hey friends, Rodney Rodriguez for your neighborhood auto repair and service shop in Cedar Park and Central Texas. It's Computer Age Automotive. Does not matter, domestic, foreign, hybrid, whatever it is, your auto repair and service. Mr. Gilbert Simmental and his great staff there at Computer Age Automotive, they will be the answer to whatever your problem may be. They've been doing it for 35 years, so that tells you something right there. Check engine light diagnostic, computer reprogramming, computer flashing, computer calibration. Doesn't matter, even the diagnostic stuff. Body control systems, engine control systems, power and battery systems. They have the answer for you. ASE certified mechanics. You drive a diesel, they can take care of that for you as well. It's Computer Age Automotive, the Simmentals. Great folks. Hey, they're racing folks, so you know that they can get stuff done. Been doing it for 35 years and still going strong in good old Cedar Park, Texas. It's ComputerAgeAutomotive.com. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Revved Up Sports Show and Revved Up ATX. There it is, on-demand shirts. Welcome back, Revved Up. Almost said Monday. Revved Up Wednesday. Hump Day. We're back on Monday next week. Stand by. I'll tell you what's going to be happening there. Bobby, a couple of comments right here. Our man Tim checks back in. He is asking about the cowboy hat, I'm assuming, at Longhorn.
Yeah, I don't remember. I could have been intoxicated that night in the grandstands. I don't know.
And then Dad, no power steering. And that's something where, you know what, kind of talking about the old days when it comes to racing at all of these racetracks. I mean, it really was. Power steering was not something that, when you go back thinking about a lot of these drivers, I mean, obviously I think Eddie, you know, with the late models and all that, when you really go back and channel this thing way back, man, there was no power steering, man. You were hammering away. I know the first 3 or 4 years first couple of years that I raced, I had no power steering, and you had to try to compensate that with a steering wheel is what you had to do. Cow hat.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
I don't know.
Sure I'm sure he'll let us know, but
yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Don't forget, you guys, you can go right here, click that QR code that takes you to the Revved Up website directly right there. All the archives, everything that you need right there, the live programming, all of that is there. Click Livecast up at the top, and you will get each and every live show on Monday or on this day, Wednesday. All right. So we talked to Eddie there, and that kind of happened based on the San Antonio race reunion page. Bobby, so this actually got even juicier as the show was going on. I don't know if you saw me over here jacking around.
I saw you messing with something.
So here we go. So we already had for next Monday, we already had lined up another San Antonio legend. Now there are actually going to be two. Next Monday, you may want to go back. Look, if you're a San Antonio race fan, if you are a Texas race fan, you may want to grab a cold beer. You may want to grab a glass of wine. You may want to do something. Have a corn dog, because next Monday on the Revved Up LIVECAST, Mike Balzer and Jason Oates will be our guests on this little program right here.
Mike's my old boss.
I know.
I used to work for Mike.
I know.
And he might have remembered that too.
There are two. Those guys right there. That's two track champions. That's two Sun Belt Series champions. That right there is two San Antonio. Not going to be on at the same time. I guess they could be on at the same time. But so we'll talk to Mike. We'll talk to Jason. You want to talk about some San Antonio memories? Holy shit, those two. That's going to be some half-mile hijinks happening right there next Monday right here on this show. 6:30. And those guys will be on at various points. Check in on the socials, and we'll let you know when that's exactly going to happen.
Jason Oatsman lined up. How'd you do that? Just tell me later.
No, I'll tell you exactly how that happened. So it was one of those things to where there's been a lot of conversation back and forth. You actually because you were looking for that car, a picture of that car.
Yeah, Jason's car. Yeah,
you're looking for a picture of that, and Cindy actually messaged him, and somehow I was on the whatever. So I reached out to Jason. He's like, hell yeah. So there you go. And Mike will be a lot of fun. Yes, Tim, Lee Mackin. Holy shit. We get Mac on here. We're going to have moonshine. That's going to be like a 3-hour show if we get Mac on here. So
we need to do Mac person. Enjoy the moonshine with him.
Yeah.
That'd be the one to do live.
Lee Mackin would be absolutely amazing to have on this program. But so next Monday, show fires off at 6:30, January the 15th. You guys mark it, put it in your Palm Pilot. It'll be Mike Balzer and Jason Oates right here live on the Revved Up Livecast. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's
There's a small chance I still have a Jason Oates 5-star racing shirt in the closet.
There you go. Wear it. Still fit.
Should.
Oh, nice. All right. Hell, even better.
It should. Yeah.
Better. Super good stuff. Big thanks to Eddie Wallace for being a part of the program. Thanks to everyone for checking in on this on a Revved Up Wednesday. Bobby, rest of the week, my man, go wrap your pipes. Wrap all your pipes. Wrap everything. It's going to get cold. You're going to freeze your nuts off, buddy.
And I got to get the camper ready for the ice cold, so I got to go do some of that stuff tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. You
do. Got to get the antifreeze ready. Got to wrap the toilet on the inside so the flusher thingy don't break again. Freeze out like it did last time. So I got a lot of stuff to do the next couple of days. So we'll get ready for old man winter. So
yep, that's exactly right, because it is coming. It definitely is coming. Thank you all for being a part of the show. We will do it again next Monday. Again, you got two San Antonio legends that are going to be diving in, and that's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you, Eddie Wallace. Great conversation. Thank you for doing that with us. That was a heck of a lot of fun. Time to get out of here. I don't know here kind of with the new format. Let's see if this will work. We may skip that. That's kind of
a little loud. Yeah, we're on the subject of getting legends on the show, because this is what we always do during the wintertime when we're having a little bit of downtime. Mm-hmm. If you guys are listening and you want us to talk to somebody, hit us up, message them, and message us and tell us how to get a hold of them.
Yeah,
because a lot of people have these pipe dreams of everybody they want us to have on the show, and that's great and all, but then we can't get a hold of them. They'd be great guests. They'd be awesome people to join the line of legends that have been on this program. But if you want us to talk to somebody, let us know, and then see if you can find a way to get us to talk to them. That'd make it a whole lot easier for us to try to track down and provide you guys with the content that you guys really want to see.
That's right. And if you don't want to reach out to them, if you have a half-ass way to figure out how to do it, let me do that, because I can. It's kind of one of those things, Bobby. I'll badger them until they tell me to stop or say yes, one of the two. So let us know who you want to hear from. And it doesn't need. I know we're kind of on a San Antonio thing right here with that happening, but it doesn't matter. Anywhere. I know that we're doing Texas stuff, but if you want to talk, we've talked to people from everywhere. So you guys let us know. We'll track them down, and we'll get them on here and just continue to do what we've been doing for 8 freaking seasons, my man. 8 seasons. We're halfway to Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama.
I know, right? Almost that far. No national championships. Maybe a couple of goats, though.
no national championships.
No goats, maybe a couple of jackasses here and there.
That's exactly right. That much closer than being goats, no doubt about it. Super cool show, Bobby. Man, be well. You guys seriously stay warm. I know I'm joking around a lot, but the weather's going to be a bitch. So all of you guys take care. This has been a lot of fun. Bobby, final thoughts, my brother.
It's fun. Good catching up with Eddie. I hadn't seen him in a while, and it's just good. I like the wintertime. I miss not having racing to go to, chance to get schedules released on this show and get a chance to catch up with Texas legends and legends in general. It's always a lot of fun.
That's right. Schedules, bring them. If you still have schedules, I did confirm with Owen Pittman. The South Texas Race Ranch and the Texana schedule will come out right here on the show when they're ready. So be looking forward to that. All right, Bobby, have a great week, my man. Like I said, you guys stay warm, and we will do it again next Monday, talking to a couple of San Antonio legends. It'll be Jason Oates and Mike Balzer right here on the Revved Up Livecast. Y'all have a great week.